Hey, guess what, guys? I do not miss high school. Not at all. I don't get why people say it's the best 4 years of your life. That is the most depressing thing I have ever heard, because how are you going to say that such an early point in your life is the best? That's just depressing. So I don't miss high school. I'm glad I'm out of there. What's up, guys? My name is Moo. I am a college student who loves reading, and I'm here to share that love with all of you. You may have guessed from the intro, but today we are talking about a book about high school. Everyone's favorite subject, I know. For as much as I feel like I hate high school, I had a pretty regular experience from elementary to middle school. I have never had a regular year of high school. My freshman year, a little something called Rona happened, and I didn't get to finish out that year, obviously. The second year was all through Zoom. The third year, I did a hybrid thing. I took some STEM classes, and then I did some college classes throughout high school. And then my fourth year was full-time college classes. So I never had a regular year of high school, and I don't regret it at all. But even if I did go to high school full-time all 4 years, I know that it is nothing like the book that I am about to show you. The book that we are reviewing today is called Some Girls Are by Courtney Summers. Now this book, again, like I've said a couple times now, is about high school. It is about a girl named Regina. Yep, named Regina, during her senior year of high school. And yeah, let's get into it by reading the summary. Sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut. Climbing to the top of the social ladder is hard. Falling from it is even harder. Regina Afton used to be a member of the Fearsome Fivesome, an all-girl clique both feared and revered by the students of Hollowell High. That is, until vicious rumors about her and her best friend's boyfriend started going around. Now Regina's been frozen out, and her ex-best friends are out for revenge. If Regina was guilty, it would be one thing, but the rumors are far from the terrifying truth, and the bullying is getting more intense by the day. She takes solace in the company of Michael Hayden, a misfit with a tragic past whom she herself used to bully. Friendship doesn't come easily for these one-time enemies, and as Regina works hard to make amends for her past, she realizes Michael could be more than just a friend, if threats from the fearsome foursome don't break them first. Tensions grow and the abuse worsens as the final days of senior year march toward an explosive conclusion in this dark new tale from the author of Cracked Up to Be. That was a bit of a lot. I would say that the summary does an okay job of describing what happens in the book, but I think a lot of the intensity in the summary is misplaced in the book. And I'll tell you why a little bit later. First, we will talk about Regina. If the name Regina sounds familiar to you, it sounded familiar to me too. I saw her name was Regina and I went, really? Really? Like, it's so obvious, like, that this was an effort to make money off of Mean Girls. It was published in 2009, 5 years after Mean Girls was released. And I went into this thinking it would be a silly high school rivalry book like Mean Girls was. And it kind of was. It's a lot darker than Mean Girls, and it's also a lot more intense, but not in a good way. More like the head mean girl, Anna, is a caricature. She's a media supervillain. She's not a real person, and most of this stuff is not very realistic. Like, it would not happen. A lot of the bullying in this book goes really far, and the fact that there aren't people in the school, like adults, that are seeing this and reporting it, I think says a lot. Where are the adults? They're not there for convenience of the plot, so the plot can move forward. That's it. So most of the bullying they did It was not, oh no, I'm so sad that happened. It's, alright, this would never happen. Where are the adults? So, despite that, I really loved this book. I thought it was good as a book. It's definitely not realistic fiction because so many of the plot points had to be there because there were no adults present. Logically, they're just, so much of this stuff wouldn't happen, but I enjoyed it as a book. Sometimes I'm just in the mood for unrealistic high school drama books, and this delivered. So as I said, Regina, she used to be friends with Anna, the head mean girl at school, and they had a falling out because of a rumor that started about Regina, about Anna's boyfriend, by this other mean girl, Kara. Kara does not like Regina, and Regina hates Kara. There are reasons. I don't want to get into them because it's a very dark book, and if you want to read about terrible things happening to high school students and terrible bullying happening to high school students, be my guest. It didn't bother me personally because I wasn't affected by any of it, but if any of the typical vicious bullying in media affects you, I wouldn't read this book. So we only get one chapter about Regina's life while she's still liked by Anna and the rest of the popular kids. And then in the second chapter, everything completely crumbles and she is what is called frozen out, and she is not talked to on school the next day. And then after that, the bullying begins. The most believable part is them writing a bad word on her locker, which I will not be repeating because I don't like using that language. It was an extremely derogatory, bad word, and thus begins a series of terrible bullying. Now, I definitely could not relate at all to Regina in this book for many reasons. The first is she was hooked on antacids. Let me tell you, as someone with an extensive history of digestive problems, antacids don't do anything. They give you temporary relief and then they make you feel worse. I hate antacids so much. And she pops them like they're candy. And that really annoyed me. Every time I hear her taking an antacid out of her pocket and slipping it into her mouth, I want to yell because it's not good for her. It's not. I've had lots of problems, and there was a time in my life where, like, consistently for 2 years, I always had acid reflux. I was always nauseous. I was just not having a good time. So watching someone pop these antacids like candy just was so annoying because they're so bad. They're not good. They don't do anything. They give you short-term relief, and if you have temporary problems and you need one real quick, that's totally fine. But they're not for long-term. They don't give long-term relief. In fact, over time, they just make your symptoms worse. So don't take them if you can help it because, it just annoyed me so much. But the other reason I couldn't relate to Regina is because she took too much of this stuff to heart. She was very embarrassed and mortified and hurt and all this by the bullying that was done. And maybe I'm just too, I guess, confident or shameless or something like that. But none of that stuff would have affected me. Like, they did some things that would have really upset me. Like, if someone put personal belongings that I kept in my backpack at the time that I was in high school, I would be really upset because I always carried around a notebook for me to write short stories in, my laptop, books I was reading at the time, and the thing that would have hurt me the most was my physical notebook because I would always write stories in there, and if something happened to that, those stories would just be gone. They'd be gone, and that would be the most upsetting thing for me. everything could be replaced, but those stories couldn't. So that would have sucked for me, but I wouldn't have felt the embarrassment she did, and it kind of makes me sad because I wish I could react more to some stuff, but I just don't. Unless someone is very close to me, I really don't care what people say about me. And even though Regina said that Anna and the rest of the girls were her friends, she did not like them. And that's something that I've seen a lot in groups of popular kids, and it makes sense. In my school, I will tell you, I never had a terrible experience because ever since elementary school, my class has been really close. No one bullied anyone. It was just kind of the weirdest thing. Like, I remember in elementary school, we would all be voluntarily playing games together at recess because we all liked hanging out with each other. There were a couple loners, I guess, who didn't engage in the activities, but I remember, like, in first grade, we would be in this gigantic circle trying to spin around as fast as we could, like ring around the rosy kind of thing, until we all fell. And then we would do like a full conga line. And then I remember in second grade, I started what I called a war. I didn't like this one kid, so we would like, I don't really know what qualified it as a war, but basically we would just hold on to each other until, like, onto each other's arms until we couldn't anymore. And basically all of second grade got involved in that because I didn't like someone else. I didn't think that I had much influence back then, but I definitely kind of did. So oops. I remember in 4th and 5th grade, we would do a lot of games like that together. Like, once we did an entire grade wide tagging kind of thing called Infection. It was basically a zombie apocalypse kind of thing where you got tagged, you got infected, that kind of thing. So we did that for days and days on end. So we were always just really connected. And even when we went to middle and high school, it was still like that. However, when I was in high school, there was a group of kids that considered themselves popular, I guess. Like, no one thought that way, and it wasn't like a mean girl thing where it's just like, wow, everyone looks up to them and fears them. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a group of people that thought they were cool, and everyone was just like, okay, cool, you do you, that kind of thing. But none of them seemed to like each other. They just wanted to be popular, and I just find it very odd. The thing is, none of the people that I grew up with were part of that group because none of us really cared. But there was that kind of group. That was kind of the extent of it. It was probably like 30 or 40 people, so there was never one ringleader or anything. There was no one that was like the head of the group. It was just a big group of people who wanted to look cool and did kind of dumb things, but it wasn't like what teen movies consider bad. It was just they were slightly rebellious. But yeah, that was the extent of my school. We all just got along. And even in high school, no one bullied anyone. And I don't know, it was just good. Of course, like I said, I will say I never had a regular year high school. So especially in my sophomore and senior year, I can't say that that was the case 100%. But I do know from being around the people who considered themselves popular and all that, everyone was decent people. Like, they weren't mean, they were just annoying. And I hate to say that, but like, I don't know any of them now. I would never have considered any of them my friends, so I'm sorry if you ever stumble across this video, but I don't know, I can't think of any names. They were just like a blob of kids that thought they were cool. But yeah, there was no bullying. There was no actual cool kids. There weren't really any cliques. We all got along with everyone. Even the kids that thought they were quote unquote cool were nice to the quote unquote outcasts. I don't that's just how it was in my school. We're very chill. So when I read stuff like this, I go, this can't be real. This can't be real. And I'm sure it's obviously not real. It's played up for drama, but it's just something that I've never experienced. So it seems like exaggerative fiction to me. I can't really say things for other people because other people got bullied in other parts of school. I know that the school closest to my house, I didn't go to the school. There have been kids that have gotten arrested for hate crimes, so obviously it happens, and that's a more realistic approach to things, but there's not much else to say about that. The pranks and bullying that I was just like, okay about was they put raw meat in Regina's locker, and that was annoying because it's just like, where are the parents and the teachers and the adults? Where are the adults? I just feel like this is something that these students could get expelled for, so I don't get why these students think that these popular kids have power over them, because it's not like they had money that they could pay off to this public school. They were just popular for some reason. I guess because they looked attractive. I don't know. That's always how it is. This whole thing could have been solved if she went to the principal and if she went to the police, but Regina did nothing. The truth behind the rumor was bad enough to go to the police. I will say that. So there's that. But all of that could be solved with Michael. I liked Michael. I thought Michael was a great character. He was awesome. He was my favorite character. As it said in the summary, Michael was someone that Regina bullied, and it's just sad to hear about what he said. Michael was someone Regina bullied, but the spot that he was sitting in the cafeteria was where the only open seats were, so she went and sat by him, and with that started a very hesitant, very begrudging friendship. Michael obviously didn't want to be friends with her, but he did because he's a good person. He was part of the emo scene, I believe is what they said. And he was just quiet and wrote in his notebook and all that. So there's that. And they connected over his mom, who was a therapist, and unfortunately she passed, but Regina was one of her clients. So Regina's therapist was Michael's mom, and they connected over that, and they got close over that. And it was obviously very rocky. Like, I'm not gonna say this relationship was so healthy and so cool and sweet and whatever, but I think even though it started very rough, it was pretty realistic in the sense where it had the potential to become healthy with a lot of communication and a lot of hard work, because it's gonna be hard to forgive some of the stuff that was done to the bullied person. I will say though, out of all the stuff that was said, it seems like Michael got the least of it. It was still bad. Obviously it was still bad, but it wasn't physically violent, nor was it traumatizing. And you saw both of those in this book, so yeah. Anyways, like I said, overall I really did like this book. The ending, I almost threw a fit over the ending, I won't lie, because they said it's like, what did they say on the back? They said, final days of senior year march toward an explosive conclusion. What they did at the end was nothing. Well, actually, it was pretty bad, but it wasn't an explosive finish. It was just, basically, Regina and Michael get very close, and the mean girls see that, and they steal Michael's notebook, which is where he writes down all his thoughts, and they use it to blackmail Regina into pretending she's friends with the mean girls and torturing her because of that, because she can't tell Michael that this is fake, or else she will blackmail Regina by sharing Michael's stuff. It's a little bit complicated, but Regina basically cannot talk to Michael, has to blow him off even though they have a budding relationship and started to actually be nice to one another and understand each other. Obviously, Michael was hurt. It wasn't very nice. It was sad. But the last page fixed it. It was the kind of thing that I had to sleep on. I went to bed angry. I won't lie. I went to bed angry because of this book. Then I woke up and was just like, okay, this is fine. It was a good ending, and I appreciated the ending. But I thought that Regina's retaliation was really cool because she retaliated, and then what they did afterwards, that's meh. It was just, it just was kind of like a deflating balloon. It just went not great. And then the ending was okay. It just showed how good of a person Michael is. Honestly, I am rooting for Regina. She's not a terrible person. She's a mediocre person who did terrible things. I would give this book a 4.7, honestly, because I just enjoyed it. It wasn't realistic. It didn't show healthy relationships in any way, shape, or form. Even Michael and Regina's, who was decent. It wasn't good overall when it comes to healthy relationships, but as long as you acknowledge that, it can be a pretty fun book to read. So I would recommend it to people who love books about high school, people who like Mean Girls, and people into contemporary fiction. Those three, right here. Whoa! But I am going to end this today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you liked it, like it. If you like what I'm doing, consider subscribing and comment down below something. Comment down below your favorite book about contemporary fiction. Any book that was written about the time that it was written in, which is like Jane Eyre was written in the 1860s. It was about the 1860s. This book was about 2009 and was written in 2009, that kind of thing. So, yeah. That's all I have for today. This has been Moo. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!